relaxed.
We are here at Pizza Man Pub on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville, New York, and we're here with 1976 national champion for college football, and that is Mr. Al Romano. Al, how are we doing today?
I'm doing fine.
Doing well?
Yeah. I had a couple before I got here. No.
Yeah. You dropped one, so that one doesn't count.
You know what?
That one doesn't count.
Yeah, but you didn't have to bring that up.
I know, I'm sorry. We're starting off on the right foot here. So here with Al Romano. Al, a CNY native here, coming from Solvay, and then moving forward to the Pitt Panthers, winning a championship there in 76 with Tony Dorsett and the team, and then moving forward into the NFL, the CFL. So there's a lot to unpack and talk about today, but I want to come back to like the full circle side of things. What brought you back to Central New York?
I like it here. I lived in Houston, which was hell. We report to camp in the summer. It was 112, 114 every day.
Yeah.
You can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
They complained about, they would mock me about where I live.
Yeah.
And I told them, I can put more clothes on. What are you going to do in the summer?
Right, that's true.
It was true. And I really didn't like Houston. Then, when I traded to Florida, it didn't get much better.
Yeah, it kept you hot. So
yeah, and I love the heat in the winter, but it's a whole different hot.
So when you come back here, because you have a connection to Pizza Man, can we talk about that? Can we talk about the fact that you were one of the founding fathers of Pizza Man?
Yes, I was, and I'm proud of it. And it was probably the best move Jim ever made in getting rid of me.
Well, he told me.
Oh, that's right. It was Carol, his wife, that wanted to get rid of me.
But having this, it's cool that you're part of this. And Jim told me a little bit about the history last week when we were kind of talking and going through the building and whatnot, and the connection that you guys made to create this and make it happen. And he said that, bringing stuff to the table and whatnot, like he didn't have anything to bring to the table, and you worked with him as a partner. And what do you appreciate about, what Jim Delia brought to your partnership?
It's all Jim. I brought a few bucks to it. I wasn't married at the time, and you still have money when you're not married. Do you know that?
I'm not married, so I have money right now. Yeah, I do.
You'll do well. And I always wanted to do this because I used to hang out. When we were in high school, we used to hang out at his father's place.
Yeah.
And I used to sit on the counter while they were making pizzas, and I thought it was the best pizza around. And I still do. I think I was a Twin Trees pizza guy up until that point, but this is, to me, is the best. I lived in Pittsburgh, I lived in Houston, I lived in Florida, I lived in Canada, and I have not had pizza.
Because there's nothing like New York. I don't think pizza counts in Florida. I don't think it counts in Houston.
No, absolutely.
Pennsylvania, in Scranton area, in Old Forge, they do a pizza with like ragu sauce and American cheese, and and they call it the pizza capital of the world, and it's lunch meat. It's gross.
I've had it.
You've had it.
It was awful.
I've had it too, and I called my mom, and I said, if I eat one more bite of this, I think I'm going to spit at all my relatives. I feel like that's what I'm doing. I'm like spitting on their grave. So I ended up going hungry the rest of the day because that's all they fed us.
Yeah, they had another pizza pie or something. What they call it? They had a name for it.
I don't know. I know in Scranton.
Yeah, down in PA because I don't remember what they used to call it.
Yeah, it wasn't good though.
No, it wasn't.
But Jim said this is the same recipe that he's always had.
Yeah, and I remember when I came in, I had to learn all this, and we had quart things already measured because I couldn't measure. I went to Solvay, so. And
they don't measure in Solvay?
No, we go by the line on the cup.
Okay, fair enough.
Kind of like a shot in a bar.
Yeah.
You ever see the top of a shot glass with the ring around it?
Yeah, that's the line.
It was invented in Solvay.
Okay, nice. I like it.
Well, we did it with the water and the yeast and everything you had to put in to make the dough, and they made the best.
Yeah, and they still make it the same way. So you being a part of the history of this and kind of the fabric of Pizza Man. I mean, you grew up in Solvay, so you're a fabric of Central New York. You come back with this business, you're a fabric here. You win a championship, and you know that element that you bring back to the community. You have so many different things that you bring here. So what kind of challenges you now? What do you enjoy now?
Well, I enjoy coming here because of the successes he had. Now, you have to understand.
We just talked about you. Oh, you want to turn us up? Yeah. Yeah, we just talked about you. We just talked about you.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't leave.
Yeah. Can we bring you? Can we come on here really quick? Show your face.
over
Come up
here.
here.
Anyway,
We got to show him here.
when Jimmy and I first started this place,
This is Jim.
There he
Hi, how you
is.
doing?
Yeah. Bring Jim in here.
Hi, everybody.
Well, we started this place. I mean, I didn't know anything about pizza. I learned it all from him in the old country inn where he learned it.
My father had a restaurant,
Yeah.
And he made sure I followed the recipe.
Yeah.
and he didn't.
And I didn't.
That's he had a go. He had a go.
Well, that's when he fired me.
Yeah.
He's done great ever since.
Yeah. But it was nice to get you on camera. Yeah, you're gonna. All right, you're off for the day. I'm only allowed to have Jim Delia on for 10 seconds or less because if I have him on any more than 10, I have to pay him a royalty fee.
Exactly.
So that's how it works. So he had to get off within the 9 seconds.
What does that mean? I'm going to get a bill when I leave?
Yeah, you're gonna get a bill for him.
Sure you will.
Yeah. But we were talking about you coming back here and what challenges you now. So.
Well, I came back because it's a great place to bring up a family.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of wanted to make Pittsburgh my adopted hometown because Pittsburgh's very much like Syracuse. It's a blue collar town. We got steel mill guys like we have here,
Yeah.
and I just fit right in there. It was a perfect fit when I went to Pittsburgh, and when I came back home, it just works.
Yeah.
I like this area. I mean, of course, we all bitch about the colds, the coldness, but you can. It's not that. It's what do you get? 4 or 5 weeks, and that's it. of a crazy cold. When I was in Houston, we got 6 months of sweat.
Yeah.
I mean, I lived in a city of 1 million people, and in my first few months, I lived in the Hyatt, on the 24th of the Hyatt, because that's where the Houston Oilers put me up.
Yeah.
I'd look down, and I'd see nobody on the streets. I mean, nobody.
Yeah.
It was insane.
I went downtown Houston. Now it's the weirdest thing in the world. It's kind of split in 3 parts. And when I went down to try and find food, I kid you not, I walked in downtown Houston for an hour, and I could find nowhere to eat. And I said to one of the people, because I found there was a McDonald's where I wasn't going to go, and then there was a restaurant, an Italian restaurant. And so I walked into the Italian restaurant and I said, "What's going on here? Why is there nobody here? There's nobody walking. There's no food." They said, "Oh, you don't understand." They said around 4 o'clock, all the people that work in downtown Houston leave. And it looked like The Walking Dead. It genuinely looked like in the opening scene of The Walking Dead, where there's just nobody in the streets.
Because at 4 o'clock, it's 115 degrees.
Yeah. And I had to walk around by myself. I walked around to the outskirts of that town by myself with because I couldn't find the train to take, and there's these people trying to talk to you on the street and whatnot. And I had my bag, I had my laptop and everything just to get to the TDECU field for the University of Houston. I was walking, sweating in my work clothes in the outskirts of Houston.
Brutal.
Yeah.
I moved a little bit of the outskirts. I was over in the Westheimer area where they had the Galleria Mall and everything.
Okay.
A lot of the players lived in that area, so we used to go in there, and there was a place called Garbo's, and it was a good town for partying.
Yeah.
But believe me, I don't know how anyone moved there before air conditioning.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, from your car to your house, back to wherever. Oh, it was awful.
Well, I lived in Kissimmee for almost 2 years, and I worked at ESPN in Orlando, and I worked at Disney at the time. And it was 82, 83 degrees at 3 o'clock in the morning. You walked out to sit on the patio, and you were suffocating. So, I mean, I get exactly what you're talking about with Houston, because I lived there. And you never get used to it, but you kind of, in a way, you just have to get okay with sweating all the time.
Oh, you want to go out and have a good time because we couldn't go out on a Saturday night because we had a game on Sundays.
Right.
So our big night was either Thursday or Friday. What's usually Friday, they made sure we weren't out as well. But you go take a shower. You're in your apartment. It's cool. You put your cologne on. You go outside, and you're shot. Your shirts are all pitted out and all wet. It was awful.
Yeah, you're uncomfortable. You want to go out and have a good time. So I get that. So you come back here, and you do Pizza Man and whatnot. What's life like now?
Good. I brought my 3 beautiful children up. I have 3 beautiful grandchildren, and I'm loving it. I like Central New York. When I see people on TV banging this Central New York area,
Yeah.
I tell them to leave.
Yeah.
We'd all be better off without you.
Yeah.
Because they have no idea. When you get deep south, believe me, my brothers all live in Florida.
Yeah.
They don't go out in the summer. You can't sit outside like we can next to one of our beautiful lakes or, the river. I have a place up in the St. Lawrence River.
Yeah.
That's God's country. I tell people, God comes back, he's going to come up here.
I feel like this would be a safe place to come.
Yeah.
I always say I want to be like where I live. It's quiet, very quiet, but there's not enough land area for aliens to build crop circles. So that's my rule. Is like I won't live in areas where they have a big enough way to road map because wherever they decide to land, where I am, I have at least 20 to 25 minutes to start moving. So you won't find me out in Auburn because there's too many hills and there's too many open spaces. So I don't mess around with that stuff. I think this is I think God likes Central New York.
Well, people say you become accustomed to where you live, and I found it very difficult in Houston. Well, I'll give you an example. They fly me in as a rookie.
Yeah.
They put me up in the Hyatt. It's downtown Houston, right in the middle.
Yeah.
Now, one day on the field, they cut practice because it was 114 degrees.
Yeah.
So they cut practice, we watched some films, and we went back. Well, I'm not from Houston. Where the hell am I going to go?
Yeah.
I looked out my window. I was on the 20th floor, and I saw McDonald's.
Yeah.
So I said, "Oh hell, I'll go." I haven't had that kind of food because they've been feeding us. So
Yeah.
I walked down to the lobby. I started walking down the street, and back then you wore your cut-off shorts, and I had flip-flops.
Yeah.
With the one thing between your big toe and the side.
Yeah.
Well, once I got on the sidewalk, the thing came out because they melted.
Yeah.
So now, so I'm not burning my feet. I'm jumping from grass to grass.
Yeah.
And I'm motivated. I want to go to McDonald's. I haven't been to one. I'm running, jumping, hit another stretch of grass, and I finally get there. There's people in the window of the McDonald's looking at me, and they applaud when I made it.
Yeah. You and I both experienced Houston being the end of the world, in a way.
I think it's...
It's like you can see the end of the world from Houston.
I think...
There's nobody downtown. You're jumping from grass to grass. I'm sweating on the outskirts.
There's... unless you're indoors,
Yeah.
you're not going to have a social life.
Yeah, probably. That's fair. So when they ask people to stay inside in Houston, they probably applaud it.
Oh, absolutely.
Keep the air conditioning on and have a good time. So you get drafted by the Oilers. Bring me into what the experience was like with the team itself, with the Houston Oilers.
Well, I was a rookie. I was scared. I was only one of 2 defensive players drafted, so I was pretty sure I was going to have a job there because back then they had a guy named Dan Pastorini, and of course anybody listening won't remember who he was, but he was a pretty good quarterback.
Yeah.
But he invented, which I didn't know this until he himself told me, he invented the flak jacket.
Okay.
He got a fishing vest,
Yeah.
cut the floaty devices off the back, and had the 2 floaty devices in the front covering his ribs.
Yeah.
And you never see on those fishing vests, they got the place to put the hooks.
Yeah.
They were still on there.
Okay.
And that poor guy was getting murdered. he was a stud. He was 6'4". He was a great quarterback, but he had no offensive line.
Yeah.
So the reason I was one of the only defensive players drafted, they drafted 9 offensive linemen. Because this guy is good and they know he's good. But
Yeah.
they got to give him a little time.
So you got there, you experienced that. That was back when the draft was different. You were drafted in the 11th round, right? Because there was so many rounds back then, but different ways that they broke it down. When you got moved to the Bucks, bring me into that. Because every player finds out that the NFL is a business. So how did you navigate those waters?
Well, Houston was one of the first teams in the history of the NFL that drafted an offensive lineman in the first.
Yeah.
Which that didn't happen until now it happens because it's a big deal.
Yeah.
But basically what happened was they ran out of offensive linemen and they traded me. But I was traded to the Bucks, and it came down to money, and they were not offering me what I should have got for my place in the draft and all that stuff. And there was a guy from Hamilton.
Yeah.
They offered me twice what I was making here, because you're only allowed so many Americans.
Right.
So I took it.
So you took it and you went up there. So, I mean, your relationship with Tampa, was it just short-lived? Or?
It was sitting in a waiting room to meet the general manager, and then leaving 2 days later.
So it was a quick in and out for that. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So you end up going up to Hamilton and playing in the CFL. I got a lot of friends that have been up there, that have played up there, that have had success up there, that won championships. I think there's not enough respect in the States for the Canadian Football League. And there are guys that feel spurned from the NFL or have better opportunities or better money or more security, and they go up there willingly. And one of my guys, S.J. Green, had opportunities, wide receiver for the Jets and the Vikings, and because of the way he was treated in the NFL, he went up, he stayed with the Montreal Alouettes, and he built his life in Canada. So what can you say about your experience up there?
Well, people don't realize the field's wider. So if you're taught a linebacker spot, you're working from the hash out, because obviously you're working against the boundaries. Well, theirs is another 10 yards. And it's very difficult even for a light, fast linebacker to get to the hash. Because a lot of the plays, there's different, obviously, for the receivers.
Yeah.
There's a hook in, there's what they call or at least at Houston they call it a dash, where they get to the hash and turn around and it would be one of those quick passes.
Yeah.
But up there, it's a big difference for a linebacker to get all the way out there and cover that receiver.
Yeah.
It was a faster game, really.
How much did you have to adjust yourself playing on the defensive side? I mean, being on that side.
Well, what happened was they ended up putting me on the line.
Yeah.
Up there, where I was comfortable from playing that pit.
Yeah.
The University of Pittsburgh.
So did you like the fact you got to transition back to the D-line?
Well, yeah, because now instead of being in the middle as a nose guard, as I was with the University of Pittsburgh, they got me to the outside, and I excelled.
Yeah. And so how many years did you spend in the CFL?
2.5.
2.5. And so for you, once that was done, what kind of to you was, okay, I'm set? Like, everybody says that day that they kind of just know it's time to go to the next chapter. How did you know it was time?
Well, when I was at University of Pittsburgh, I never got hurt. And the coaches knew that, so they would utilize me not only as a middle guard, but they would put me on the outside if one of our guys were down. And they knew that I'm good.
Yeah.
What happened up there is I hurt an ankle, and I had already torn my knee up years ago. And I played 5 years with a torn up knee,
Yeah.
but that ankle injury I said, oh shit. this is different. So I start thinking about it at that point. And when I came back to the States, I don't know if you know this, but the Buffalo Bills own my rights. I don't know how they do it, don't ask me. You have to look it up.
Yeah.
So I had to go to their mini camp after my third year up north. And I went to their mini camp, and I happened to run into a player who was at Houston with me.
Yeah.
He was a backup quarterback.
Who was that?
A guy named White.
Okay.
Not the Danny White, but
Yeah.
White.
Yeah.
Right? And we hit it off when I was in Houston as well. Anyway, I had a really good camp because Terry, is it Terry or whatever, he told me what they were going to do because he wanted out too, and I didn't think I wanted to play any. We were there only because we had to be if we were going to come back in the NFL.
Right.
So he was giving me signals. He goes, if it's this is an out.
Yeah.
You know, if I do this is a hook. If I do this, it's a post. I had a great camp.
Yeah. And then what happened after camp for you?
Well, what they did is they basically started offering me rookie prices after I'd been in the league between Canada and there 4 years. And that's
Yeah.
so I called my agent, and he goes, "Yeah, this is your call." And I made the call.
And so you made the decision that it was time.
Yeah, that ankle just, I couldn't shake it. I shook a knee. I tore up my knee bad.
Yeah.
And I could get through it, but an ankle, wow.
It's weird. There's certain
It's
ones
like a basketball injury, I guess.
Yeah, but it got you. Because, I mean, there's the hamstring injury. I always, when it comes to a running back especially, but a running back or a wide receiver, when they have a hamstring injury and it's a nagging hamstring injury, some guys are never, ever the same again.
It's forever.
Like Fred Taylor hurt his hamstring. My favorite running back, Jacksonville Jaguars, hurt his hamstring, and he was never this. I think he played maybe 1 or 2 full seasons after that, but he was never the same.
Well, my friend and ex-Pitt alumni, Dan Marino, that's what happened. That was his. I mean, he played a whole year, but he was never the same guy.
And his last game,
He tore his hamstring.
Yeah, and his last game was against my favorite team, the Jaguars, and they lost. Marino, it was crazy. Last game ever. Lost 62-7 in that game, and Fred Taylor had I think it was an 81, or it was almost a 90-yard touchdown run. But it was this huge lopsided victory, and it ended up being Marino's last NFL game. And I was a huge Marino fan, and he's one of those guys that I felt like deserved a Super Bowl. Like he deserved to have won a Super Bowl.
I think that he would be way higher on the list because he was a pure passer.
Yeah.
If he won a Super Bowl, believe me, you would be talking, I think, more him than a Montana or a Young or one of those guys. But that's the ultimate. You either get the ring or you don't.
And
it wasn't his fault. His last 2 years, he had his earlier years, he had insane offensive line.
Yeah.
But his last 2 years, they were spending money elsewhere.
Well, the thing that's crazy with Dan Marino is, when you look at the Miami Dolphins after him, they have been essentially rebuilding from the day he left.
You know how many years ago that was?
Right. I mean, they are still to this day rebuilding over 2 decades.
Yeah.
And the quarterbacks they've gone through, the running backs, I mean, Zach Thomas being there, Jason Taylor being there, the entire team is, it's every single year. I tell my buddy, because he's a Dolphins fan, I go, you're still rebuilding, you still have not figured out how to go past the Marino era. And if you want to talk about the effect that somebody has on a team that never won a Super Bowl, the moment he left to now over 20 years later, they're still that team that they don't have the leadership, they don't have the guy. And it's not a knock on Tua, it's not a knock on when Ryan Fitzpatrick was there. It's just the reality that no matter what the position is, nobody in Miami has ever made you feel like they're going up. It's just since Marino left, they've just been on a decline.
Yeah, I agree. Wholeheartedly. I was a huge Dolphin fan because of Zonko. I was a kid. I met him up at Syracuse, and I was a fullback in high school.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be the next Larry Zonko. But when I got a little older and Syracuse was recruiting me, they were, I think Syracuse was wanting me to come there only because I was another local, and then maybe I'd work out. Where Pittsburgh, they showed me a whole different thing. They would visit me every weekend. They would bring a coach down, and I was in military school, and I hated it with a passion.
Yeah.
Because I did the normal athletic thing and thought that I'm going to get through high school without doing any work or get through college.
Yeah.
And I chose Pittsburgh, which obviously was a good choice.
Speaking here with Al Romano. Al Romano, 1976 national champion. Here with Dan Tortora. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month is on site, on location at the Pizza Man Pub on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville. And of course, you can listen and watch the show in its normally scheduled time every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as on wakeupcalldt.com. Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, and on YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. You have to remember that there's going to be a test at the end. You got to be able to keep that all together.
I remember .com.
That's fair. That's fair. So, you have a question?
When you were in Buffalo there, when you came back, they had the rights to you?
Yeah. 27, 28.
So you're 5-6 years into
I would have. I think I would have played in Buffalo if it worked out. But they treat you. Look, the NFL, like you mentioned earlier, it's a money business. And right, and I just followed the money. Yeah. What's that? What?
Was that during their 4-year run in Buffalo?
No. Buffalo, I never even played. I would.
At the time, though, when you were
right.
here, was that during when they were in 4-year run?
Yeah, Buffalo was doing well
That one never.
back then. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when the NFC East single-handedly took Buffalo out of every single Super Bowl. It was the Skins, Washington football team, the Giants, and the Cowboys took them out. So, and now Buffalo's good again.
I love them.
If you could play right now and Buffalo had your rights, would you want to play for this Buffalo team?
Do I need to answer that?
I want to know.
Absolutely.
I want to know. Josh Allen. I want to go down and say I want to talk Stephon Diggs,
I tell you what,
Levi Wallace, Matt Milano,
I love Johnson.
Ed
I
Oliver.
love him.
Yeah.
I like the guy.
Is your ankle better?
Is my ankle better?
Is an ankle better? Let's go.
Well, I can't even walk fast. I don't have to worry about it.
But I mean, this Buffalo team is making people feel some kind of positive way now.
You know, all of a sudden, come on. You haven't seen Buffalo Bills sweatshirts and T-shirts.
There's nothing. You go to the store now, you can't buy anything in the store.
In 20 years. Now they're all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
How about the Giants? Oh, they're not a professional football team.
No, I like the Giants. My youngest son, Jamie, loves the Giants. I never liked. The only time I liked the Jets is when Joe Namath was, and I barely remember him.
You liked the Jets when Joe Namath was there?
Well, that was I barely remember him.
Do you remember his interview? Do you remember his interview that he had with Susie Colbert?
Yes.
When he said he just wanted to kiss her?
He wants to kiss her.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty sober.
That was the beginning of the AA era.
Yeah, he was very sober during that time. Yeah, he was. Yeah, but it's funny how the Jets are. I mean, I think they're going to draft Zach Wilson out of BYU.
Think they're going to
take a quarterback. They just got rid of Darnold. They got a second round, a fourth round, and a sixth round for Sam Darnold, which was not good enough.
They're going to take that tight end.
The problem is
Still in his rookie contract.
Darnold was not that bad. He just
He
didn't have any help.
But he's like Mark Sanchez. They took everybody, all the weapons away, and then they said our quarterback sucks.
Right.
Got to protect them, like you said.
You know,
That's right.
you got to protect him. You got to give him weapons. His two favorite receivers, they traded away. Same thing they did to Mark Sanchez. And so, I mean, to me, the Jets set their quarterbacks up to fail, and then they complain. So if Zach Wilson goes there, I just hope he understands that as an organization. And I worked with the Jets. I covered their training camps, went to their games. Their front office it's a problematic front office of more than a decade outside.
That's why the Steelers are consistently in the top 3 to 5.
They just extended Mike Tomlin again, too.
Because of what?
Because of their front office. The Rooney family runs a very tight ship. And I'll tell you what, they're the classiest people you ever want to meet. When I was living there, I did fundraisers, and one of the Rooneys were there. And they're just good, hard work. They're blue-collar people with a few extra dollars.
Yeah, and I met one of the guys that was on the Super Bowl run for the Steelers, and as many as I think he had 4 or 5 in his pocket. And I asked him his favorite one, and it was one of the Cowboys. I think it was Super Bowl 13 or something like that. It was going up against the Cowboys.
That was big. The Cowboy one.
He actually whispered in my ear, because we were at an event for, I think, the Boys and Girls Club, and I told him that I liked the Cowboys. They're my second favorite team, my favorite NFC team. And he leaned in right before I left that night. He leaned in and whispered in my ear. He said, "How old are you?" And at the time I was like, I'm 22, 23. And he said, "You're young enough. We all make mistakes, and like this is your mistake." So I was like, all right, I'm gonna, But Steeler fans, they just, that's the thing though. Like when Le'Veon Bell had his issues, and Antonio Brown had his issues, I thought it was them, not the Steelers. And then we found out. I said, we're going to find out if it is or it isn't. And we found out that it was those guys,
absolutely,
and not the Steelers, because Le'Veon Bell didn't catch on anywhere, and Antonio Brown has been through a lot. And yeah, he was on Tampa, and yeah, he won a Super Bowl, but he was the 3rd or 4th string guy. So, these guys went from number 1 to falling right off the face of the earth almost. So the Steelers obviously know talent does not supersede if you're a problem in the locker room.
They handle those head cases better than anybody.
Yeah.
And now those 2 guys you just mentioned, honestly, if you didn't mention it, I wouldn't have. Those guys are head cases. They think they're bigger than the game, and nobody's bigger than the game.
And Jalen Ramsey, same thing. I covered Jacksonville, my favorite team, but I actually physically have been down there for the better part of the last 11 years, for the majority of it. And being in the locker room, I said 2 to 3 years in advance, I named 4 people, and I said, these are your problems that as long as they're in the locker room, they're going to mess it up. Jalen Ramsey, Calvin Smith, Marcel Darius, Yannick Ngakoue, none of them are on the team now. None of them. And talented guys, Jalen very talented, but I made a decision. There was one day I was walking by his locker, and there was a bunch of cameras there, and there was a light on him, and all of a sudden he started freaking out and calling attention to himself like a child. And I remember looking over at him going, I will never interview that man. Like, I don't want to. And now he's in LA and, thinking that he's bigger than the world and doing his thing. Telvin's in trouble off the field. Yannick Ngakoue was traded to Minnesota, who traded him to Baltimore, and now he's on the Raiders. So since leaving Jacksonville, we got a 2nd-round pick for him. It's been on 3 teams. And Marcel Darius, I don't even know where he is. So it's funny how people are like, you can't afford to lose these guys. But Jaguars got a 2nd-round pick. They got 2 first-rounders for Jalen. And so you get rid of a headache, and you get 2 first-round picks plus your 2. So last year and this year, 4 first-rounders, including the number 1 pick. How do you go wrong? You get rid of a problem, and you have the opportunity, if you draft right and do your homework, to get 4 guys to take the place of the head case.
You have no idea what one bad apple does to a team. It brings you down to a point where you're more worried about what's going on with the team itself than who you're going to be playing.
Yeah.
We had that at Pittsburgh at the time, the University of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
We had guys that had a bit of an attitude, and we had fights at training table, we had fights at practice, and the coaches, great coaches. When you think about it, we had Johnny Majors and people
Yeah.
Don't remember. I love that guy who just passed away like this past year.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Jackie Sherrill, who's going to the Pittsburgh Hall of Fame this in a couple of months.
Didn't you go back and work with Jackie Sherrill?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to graduate.
Yeah.
So to get my classes, make a coach. What do you need? You need me to carry water, or
Yeah, I mean, whatever it takes.
But yeah, I got my degree because of him. And great coach.
Yeah.
Great coach.
What can you say about Majors and Sherrill, starting with Majors first? I'd love to get your thoughts on those two Pittsburgh coaches.
They were a perfect duo. Johnny was the smooth-talking Southern gentleman. There wasn't anybody who didn't like, they did not like him. You just couldn't help it.
Yeah.
Smooth-talking. Jackie, you could find areas where to dislike.
Okay.
He was very intense. He would look at you, and you would want to look behind you to see who he's looking at. Because
Look right through
he
you.
looked right through you.
Yeah.
He scared the hell out of you. And I think it was as much Jackie as it was Johnny. But I had them both. I had the best of both.
You know, and you having those guys, I mean, when you were getting recruited, you said that Pittsburgh came to see you every week that they possibly could. Did any other school do as much? Did they do half as much? Like, did anybody hold a candle to how often Pittsburgh wanted you to know that you were appreciated?
No. I went to South Carolina. I went to Penn State. They never showed up.
Yeah.
I had a coach every weekend. And I loved it because I just did not like the military academy I was going to.
Yeah. I guess they turned they turned us on here inside of the building. So, but to look outside of, you know, the coaching, in Pittsburgh and how much they showed you love, what did Syracuse show you?
Well, I went to prep school with a young man named Tommy Pirlo.
Yeah.
He was the son of Rocky Pirlo, who was the offensive line coach for Syracuse, back with Schwartzwalder, Zombie, all those guys.
Yeah.
And they just felt it was a sure thing because I went to prep school with Tommy, and then I was going to go to Syracuse.
Right.
And I still wanted to, but they really, I mean, they never really had an official visit. I mean, I'm not good at regiment. I mean, at least under the military terms.
Yeah.
And every weekend I went to South Carolina, I went to the Gamecocks, I went to East Carolina, I went to Penn State, I went to North Carolina, and I enjoyed being away because you're basically locked up. I mean, it was a godsend for me because I learned how to study. I learned why we're there.
Yeah. I mean, was there a time where you wanted to go to Syracuse?
Oh, right up to the 11th hour.
Okay.
They sent the contract, in manner of speaking, for me to sign. Well, they sent it to my mother because I wasn't old enough.
Yeah.
And I called home. I go, Mom, don't sign it. I'm unsure on the Syracuse thing. And when they sent the Pittsburgh one out, I says, I'm going to go to Pittsburgh.
So what was, I mean, if you were Syracuse to the 11th hour, why Pittsburgh?
Johnny Majors, Jackie Sherrill. They had a vision. They showed what they were going to do, and I believe I bought into everything. They had new drawings of the locker room. The locker room was an old 80-year-old stadium. The roof leaked. The showers were not working. The training room was awful. It was horrible locker room.
Yeah.
By the time we got back from camp, they had about 70% of the locker room, and it was spectacular.
Yeah.
It was like my living room. And they did a great job.
So for you, they sold you what they were going to do and how they were going to do it, but you believed. What made you believe that? Because coaches, when people are recruiting, some of them peddle the dream and they tell you what's going to happen that never happens. They feed you a bunch of information that doesn't come to fruition. So why did you believe that Pittsburgh was telling the truth?
Well, it's the luck of the draw. I mean, I believed other people and other manner of speaking and other aspects of my life, and it didn't turn out. And it could have turned out, or maybe it would have turned out. But this year, I just had a strong feeling. This is going to work.
Yeah.
I need to get out of Syracuse. Plus, I hung around with guys older than me.
Yeah.
2 or 3 of them went to Syracuse. I'm a junior or senior in high school. I'm already partying at SU. So I knew that gig.
Yeah.
Let's go somewhere else.
And for you to not come here, but they recruited you, there's the juxtaposition and the changing of, history at Syracuse University, where they used to recruit local. They used to care about local. You, Scott Schwades, Tim Green, Rob Drummond. It was important for them to bring guys in that were local.
Right.
Nowadays, it's unheard of. Nick Robinson, who was on my show, he told me from Beeville that the last 2 weeks, it kind of pissed him off that they recruited him right at the end. And,
Oh, really?
And Tyler Rouse, he ends up at BC. Noah Jordan Williams doesn't feel the love from Syracuse. He goes to BC. Stevie Scott doesn't feel the love. He goes to Indiana. And, we see Dorsey Levens go elsewhere. We see Latavius Murray move forward. Mike Washington Jr. got almost 20 offers out of CNS recently. He ends up going to Buffalo. And Syracuse's best thing that they did for him was call him up and say, keep working, young buck. We're watching your film. No offer. So to go from a time period where the university and the coaching staff wanted to keep homegrown talent to now living with a team that doesn't try to recruit locally, what does that do for you as somebody in the area and as a player that was recruited by Syracuse? How do you feel that, the staffs that have come through here really don't try to recruit Syracuse anymore?
Well, you live here. You want to stay here. And you feel, not quite, I wouldn't say embarrassed, but you feel, wow, I've been left out. I really wanted to go here, but they're not showing me any love here.
Right.
So the hell with it. And I think that the problem is that these people, these young athletes, remember, they're 17, 18 years old.
Right.
They're basically, it's a funny middle here. If I'm going to call you every week, and we don't have to do anything, just call you every week.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll just call her.
Yeah.
She's like maybe a new girlfriend. Sue's just called again. It means something over time.
Yeah.
You may not have liked her at all in the beginning, but somebody's showing me interest.
Right.
And it's basic.
Well, Floyd Little said it, and he said it multiple times, and I have the luxury to have said over these last 7-8 years that Floyd and I became genuine friends. And we got to spend a lot of time in his office, talking to him personally, and to call him a friend before he passed means the world to me. To have him not here, I know there's a brighter light in heaven, but I miss him. And he said, when you go to the dance, he said there's a lot of pretty girls, and you want to dance with them all. But you dance with the one that you think is pretty that also wants to dance with you. And here in Syracuse, they're not calling these kids saying that they want to dance with them. So these kids don't want to dance with Syracuse. They don't want to go to the camp. They don't want to try. Because there's been this notion, whether Syracuse means to or not, but the university has essentially made these kids feel like you're sub-talent, you're subpar, we don't need you. We don't need you to win. And then these kids are going to other schools and going to bowl games and looking at them at 1-10 and going, oh, you don't need us. But what it's creating is hate. These kids are leaving the community. They don't feel the love from Syracuse, and they don't want to come back here. They don't want to build a family here. They don't want to build a business here because because the university has hurt them. So I tell people all the time, the more the university doesn't recruit locally, the more it hurts every business in the community, the more it hurts our neighborhoods, because these people grew up, everybody wore a Syracuse shirt at some point, and when you do what you do to these kids, and they put on BC, and they put on Buffalo, and they put on Temple, and they put on whoever, the parents are wearing that now, the kids are wearing that now, and the kids aren't going to come back here and live here, and that breaks my heart, because I've talked to a lot of the kids recently, and they get really excited about the opportunity to beat Syracuse when all they wanted to do was play for Syracuse.
I wholeheartedly agree. Think about it. Even if they're taking a chance, take the goddamn chance. You don't know. These coaches don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, they're looking at the numbers, how high he can jump, how fast he can run. You have no idea really where they're going to end up. He's a local guy. Don't be an asshole. Take the chance on this kid. He's local. He's going to try harder here than he is at Boston College or wherever the hell he's going.
Yeah.
And they don't do that. And I've seen that happen year after year with Syracuse. I've coached Syracuse University football camps since Pascalona.
Yeah.
Every one of them. I did it for 10, 15 years. And now Paul, I thought did a good job.
Yeah.
He stayed on top of it.
He was the last one that did.
Yeah. And first of all, Robinson.
Greg Robinson.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking, whoa, what are they thinking? That's like hiring an Australian to go to Mexico and teach Spanish. I mean,
I like that. I think the fans will like that. That's going to be a hot key on my
there
show.
we go. There
Hiring
we go.
Greg Robinson is like bringing in an Australian to go to Mexico and teach Spanish. I like it.
It was ridiculous. And I love the guy. He had me up at his camp. I worked his camp as well.
Yeah.
Just, what is the matter with these people? I mean, come on. Hire professionals that know, that learn. These headhunters, they make a lot of money for a reason.
Yeah.
Because they study what you do. They know what you're going to be. They know where your weaknesses are. Are you kidding me? It's not that difficult.
No. And you talk about, the local kid. I mean, we've talked about these local kids and the importance of showing them love. And the thing is, I tell people all the time, if they're not talented, if I just talk about running backs, Latavius Murray, Tyler Rouse, Mike Washington Jr., Stevie Scott, Dorsey Levens, it's like, how many guys have to go to the NFL, win a Super Bowl? I said 3 years ago, my words 3 years ago when Stevie went to Indiana, I said, I can't wait, because I knew he wasn't going to stay his fourth year. I said, I can't wait 3 years from now to draft him in fantasy football. And this year in 2021, I will gladly be drafting him in fantasy football. And he went to Indiana, set a single-season true freshman rushing record for the most yards by a running back ever in Indiana history, over 1,000 yards. They push Ohio State to the brink. They play in multiple bowl games. They almost played in the Big Ten championship, but he wasn't good enough for Syracuse. Servassier Dennis is at Pittsburgh right now, played quarterback and is now playing defense, played all over the field, and went to CBA, is playing linebacker, and was leading Pittsburgh last season to start the season. He's leading the ACC in tackles, and he was voted the linebacker of the week in the ACC. Servassier Dennis, CBA, never offered by Syracuse, went to Pittsburgh. It's crazy.
I mean, there's nothing else you can say about it. I mean, I think that these coaches, first of all, are out of their element. They're going to pick out talent, but come on, they don't know. They don't know what's going to happen to that kid.
No.
And
they go to Florida, but everybody goes to Florida. In order to get a player from Florida, you have to beat UCF, USF, Florida State, and Miami, and then the rest of the country. By the way, the neighboring states of Alabama, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia, and Texas. And after all of that's picked out, then they'll consider Syracuse. And you're not going to get the number 1, the number 2, the number 3, the number 9 wide receiver. Some guys came here and told me, I'm coming to Syracuse to play in the ACC against Florida State because they didn't offer me, and I'm pissed. They weren't coming here to be here. They were coming here to be in the Atlantic so that they could face them in the ACC. And it should say something to you that if they're all going to Florida, they're all going to Texas, go to the Northeast, stay in this area. And coaches have told me, and Steve Adazio has told me plenty of times, and Randy Etzel, because they both recruit the area still, and they're friends of mine. So Randy Etzel and Steve Adazio have both said to me when Steve said it, he said, if you're a good coach and you know what you're doing, you recruit from your backyard 5 hours out.
Right.
He said, you do a 5-hour radius, and he said, I will always, even though he's at Colorado State, he said, I will always come back to Syracuse, because he kept an eye on Notre Dame, kept an eye when he was in Florida, kept an eye in BC, kept an eye in Colorado State now, kept an eye in Temple. He said, I will always look there because I respect the area. I love the area. I've loved it since I coached there. Paul Pasqualoni the same way. Randy Etzel the same way. But that's what boggles my mind. If you look at any of these teams, you look at the Alabamas, you look at any of the squads out there, they know to recruit from the inside out because you have to win your backyard. And Nick Saban himself has come up to Central New York and brought a kid to Alabama. And it's like, if Saban's coming all the way up here, and all these other guys have an ear to the ground, Gabe Horan right here in Beeville had multiple looks from the Big Ten. It's just the reality that if everybody else is looking at Syracuse, Rutgers is beating Syracuse right now in Syracuse. BC is beating them. UConn is beating them. Colorado State, now that Steve's there, is beating them.
It's ridiculous.
You know? And Colorado State, everybody wants to know why. I said, because Steve's the coach. The first person to offer Mike Washington from CNS, Steve went there, 2 weeks in, offered Mike Washington, and then 16 other schools followed suit.
Right.
Not Syracuse. And so, to me, it's like, you can't say there's no talent here, because these guys are not only playing at other Division 1A teams, but they're excelling.
Right.
And Stevie Scott and Servassier and probably Mike Washington and my guy Daniel Santiago, who played at Utica Proctor and is also playing in Arizona, he's got a bunch of offers now from Army and Yale and San Diego State and a bunch of other schools, and now Colorado State. So it's not, and Buffalo. So it's not just, Buffalo recruits Syracuse better than Syracuse. Everybody recruits Syracuse better than Syracuse. If you and I started a team in Utica tomorrow, we would recruit Syracuse better.
What's that telling you?
It's telling you that the coaches don't care about the area.
Right. Well, because they're from wherever the hell they're from.
Right. And they have no connection.
They have no connection.
And they're not going to stay here forever.
The thing is if they don't get in the community and make a connection, they're not going to have a shot at it anyway.
Right. Paul acted like he lived here. Paul acted like he had been here his whole life. Scott Schaefer.
He was the guy.
Yeah, for whatever people think about Scott wanted to live here forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he tried, and the 10-3 season, those were his guys.
Yeah.
And if you want to know anything about Scott, his assistant coaches, I keep in touch with almost all of them. Every single one of them is successful. Clark Lee is the head coach at Vanderbilt, was just at Notre Dame. Western Michigan, Tim Lester's there. St. Anselm, the D2, Joe Adams there. Texas Tech has DeAndre Smith now. My guy, Bobby Acosta, was at IMG Academy in Florida. Now he's at Del Valle in Texas. All of these guys are successful. All of them. Fred Reed's going to be on the show tomorrow. He's at Eastern Michigan. He's been there since he left. So it tells you something when the last staff that was fired, they're all successful. And Scott came back, played the same defense that he had at Syracuse as Middle Tennessee, and beat Syracuse in the Dome, and almost caused a safety on Dungy on the first drive. So, it really tells you something when the guys that weren't good enough are successful, and here we are. And if you pay attention to Dino's staff, it has changed multiple times, and almost every single year now, his offensive movement and offensive coordinators, they're constantly fluctuating.
Right. Well, right now, I like this guy, Dino. And I think he's becoming entwined in
I hope so.
In our community. I feel.
I have a really good relationship with him, but I want him to do more.
I didn't feel anything about Robinson ever. This guy's from California. He didn't know anything about the Northeast. He was the worst recruiter for Syracuse in the history.
Yeah.
But the problem is that these are kids.
Yeah.
They're not young. They're barely young men.
Yeah.
You gotta really put your effort up in. The problem with some of the coaches is you feel right away. This is I'm going to go to Boston College next, or I'm going to go to Penn State next, or so why put out an effort now?
Yeah.
He could have been a good coach, but if they don't put their heart into it locally, then you don't want them. You
Right.
want to get rid of them. I'll tell you who was a great coach that really could have made a big difference, but they only kept him a year. Is Ed Ogeron. You imagine we had Ed Ogeron as an assistant coach here?
Allegedly, he wanted to come back,
Yes.
and they botched that.
Yes, they did.
again.
Ed and I became buddies because him and I used to do this. At the football camp, we did the softball. It's 85 degrees out. Nobody wanted to play softball. Him and I would sit under a tree and bullshit.
Yeah.
Really.
Coach L.
Great guy. We did the.
And the thing with Ed is they didn't want him in LSU. They fired Les. Now remember, when they fired Les Miles, this is why I tell people all the time: if you're a coach,
Think about what you just said. They fired Les Miles.
Yeah.
That's good.
and they fired him with an 81% winning percentage at LSU. They fired him for losing 3 games in a row
Right.
with an 81% winning percentage.
They fired Johnny Majors.
And then they bring in Coach O, and the fans, I don't want Coach, he's an interim, we don't like him, he talks weird, this, that, whatever. Then he wins a championship, everybody loves him. Last year they struggled a little bit, they want to get rid of Coach O.
Let's get him out of here.
But that's the SEC. I tell people that all the time. If Jimbo Fisher stayed at FSU, and obviously there was issues there, but if he had stayed at FSU, he would have been a legend forever.
Right.
But going to Texas A&M, your job in the FCC is to beat Alabama and win a national championship. And nobody does that. Florida's got a shot this year. Georgia has Georgia's okay, Auburn's okay, LSU's okay. Florida under Dan Mullen, I'm telling you, this year, next year, they got a shot.
Right.
But if you don't beat Nick Saban within 3 years, you're fired.
That is the game.
They don't care how many games you win.
You can keep your job forever. You beat them every year.
Right. If you're the Auburn coach and you consistently lose to Alabama in the rivalry, you're gone. If you're an SEC coach, and if you're trying to think, okay, so one of my guys from SMU, he went to Arkansas. Arkansas's program is garbage.
Right.
Chad Morris leaves SMU, finally gets into a bowl game. They had been reeling, the only team that ever had the death penalty in football in '85. And they were reeling from 85 to a few years ago, still from the death penalty, killing their program for a year. They never got back. He gets them to a bowl game. He goes to Arkansas. Not even a full 3 years, fired. I said, what do you want him to do? It's like Nebraska in the Big Ten. Rutgers is awful. Worst move that Rutgers ever made was joining the Big Ten. Because if they go 1-10, it's like, well, that's a normal year.
Well, what's the second worst thing? What coach did they have at Rutgers that was a phenomenal coach?
Well, they just brought back Greg Schiano.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they just brought him back to try and change it.
They should have got rid of him in the first place. He was getting zero. He was like Syracuse. He was getting 0 New Jersey guys.
Yeah.
He basically put billboards all over the state of New Jersey. Come to Rutgers, and he did it. He got probably 7 out of 10 players out of that state, and it made a difference.
Yeah. And Bobby Acosta, when he came here, that was his job. His job was New York, New Jersey, and he was doing a good job building those New Jersey roots. And that was a sad thing, because when they fired Schaefer's staff and they sent them all away, Bobby wanted to interview for the job. He wanted to be here, and he just won a national championship with IMG Academy. And he tells me he's down at IMG in Bradenton, Florida. Everybody looks at IMG. Every school that knows anything looks at IMG. He tells me on the phone, I'd really like for Syracuse to call us. And I was like, so we're recruiting Florida, and we're not talking IMG?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I remember with Robinson, it was after one of the practices, and I was with all the coaches, and we're having, a few drinks and snack or something. They didn't have, at the time, they didn't have a recruiter for the state of Florida. And I just sat back, I went, oh, this guy's doomed.
Well, Tim Lester found Dungy in Oregon. And he goes and he finds him out there, and he tells Schaefer, like, I know you may not want to take a quarterback, but you got to give me this kid. And he kept telling Schaefer, you got to keep one scholarship. You have to let me take this kid. Every single week that they were allowed to travel, Lester went to Oregon. He got to know the dad. God bless him, passed away, Tim Dungy. But he got to know the whole family, and he's the reason. So when they went 10-3, I went on my show and said, thank Tim Lester. And when they got Dungy, I said, thank Tim Lester. And the final year that Dungy played, I warned fans all year long, appreciate him while you got him, because you're going to love him when he's gone, and you're going to call my show, and you're going to complain that you didn't appreciate him. And sure enough, some fans did, some fans didn't. And then the next year, everybody was up my business on the show. He's in the Mount Rushmore of Syracuse quarterbacks. We miss him. We loved him. Can he play again? Oh, my God, he was so different. And I said, why? What did he do wrong? He gave his heart and soul to the team, but that's a Schaefer guy. And a lot of those guys on the 10-3, those were Schaefer's players. And when they finished up, the Kylan Whitners and the Eric Dungies and all these guys that came through the program, and the Jonathan Thomas and Zaire Franklin, all of these players that are worthy of shots somewhere, they came from Schaefer. And I told people, I got asked it was funny, I was on actually, I think it was a Pittsburgh or Philly. I was on a Pennsylvania show, and they said, last question, do you think Syracuse football will ever be relevant again? Will they ever win again? And I said, they're already winning. This when Schaefer was the coach. I said, they're already winning, and the sad thing is you guys don't see it. I said, because I know the staff very well, and because I'm on the recruiting trail talking to the kids myself and really getting their raw thoughts because I'm not a coach, talking to the kids, Schaefer and his staff were winning so many things in recruiting, and everybody wanted to run through a wall for that guy. If they had given him something that Wake Forest gave Dave Clawson and NC State gave Dave Doran, I said right in the beginning, I said the difference between Wake, NC State, and Syracuse is Schaefer isn't going to get time. 3 years was nothing. If they let him recruit and they let him keep doing what he was doing, he would have changed this city. He would have changed the program because he was winning with these kids, good, hard-nosed kids that wanted it. And he was winning in New Jersey, and he was fighting with Rutgers and fighting with UConn and fighting with BC. And he could have done a better job here like everybody, but they were making attempts, and I saw it. And it was the worst sin in the world Joe Adam brought in an offensive lineman at every single position and didn't get to coach any of them. And it was such a sin to me that it was like he worked his butt off to replace the entire offensive line and never got to sit in a room with them.
I see this over and over and over again, and it goes back to state schools. And also, there's a little sideline to this.
Yeah.
A private school like Syracuse and Pittsburgh is just, you're uphill all the way. If you can bring in the players you want at a private school like Pittsburgh and Syracuse, and I say this every year,
Yeah.
you're going to go as far as you can possibly go because they just, you can't beat them. There's a limited amount of money, and that was the problem with Ogeron. Ogeron wanted to stay, but they were paying them. You won't even believe it back then. They were paying like $45,000 to be a position coach at Syracuse University.
Yeah.
Anywhere else, it was back then, it was in the 60s and 70s.
Right.
The difference, I saw the difference happening in Pittsburgh when Dave Wanstead became our head coach. He was one of us.
Yeah.
He wanted Matt Kavanaugh to take care of the quarterbacks, right? Dave knew his value. The university didn't want to pay.
Yeah.
David gave up part of, Dave Wanstead, the head coach, gave up part of his, he was the first assistant $1 million assistant coach at the University of Pittsburgh.
And now in the ACC, your coordinators are supposed to make at least $1 million.
Yeah. And I'm talking, Dave left about 12 years ago now.
Well, you look at Brent Venables and his time that he spent in Clemson, it's because every single year Dad was like, pay him what he wants.
Right. Well, David went to the university and said, it's a big difference when you're pulling money from a state.
Yeah.
Other than what these kids are paying scholarships. I mean, excuse me, tuition.
Yeah.
Why do you think Syracuse is $65,000 a year?
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell they do with the money, but they don't put it into the football football program.
No, that's the thing. I figured out if they never sold a hot dog, a beer, or any piece of merchandise just from their regular general like underclassmen, they're making $2 billion a year. $2 billion.
Exactly.
And begging for help.
Yeah. I remember when I was an All-American and I was in San Diego, and then I went to Burbank to the Bob Hope show. And half these people don't even know who the hell Bob Hope is, but anyway, great guy. Anyway, I remember they were taunting for the dome.
Yeah.
Back then.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what the hell they were talking about. I go, who's getting a dome? They go, Syracuse. There's a thing on the table about getting a dome. I says, so I'm on national news at the time, and I'm telling them, well, I think Syracuse should get the dome.
Yeah.
But you know what? That was a big push. That helped. Well, you had Coach, you had Paul Pasqualoni, but also just before him, you had Coach
Mack.
Mack.
Yeah.
That was his house.
Yeah.
And he got players.
Yeah.
We bring Dave Ronstadt into Pittsburgh, and he had, not his first year, but his third and fourth year, he had top 10 recruiting classes.
Yeah.
They fire him, and they get this new horse's ass AD, Peterson, from Oklahoma or wherever he was from.
Yeah.
Destroyed the program, changed our logo, changed everything.
Yeah.
Then we brought in new AD, and unfortunately, Dave was already gone.
Yeah, and you look at now, and this guy actually showed you some love, and I know him, and I've interviewed him, and it's funny. He knows my voice. So when we do teleconference calls, like we did a live thing, so we did an ACC thing in Charlotte, and I'm in the TV room, and it was Pat Narduzzi, and I said something to Pat, and Pat looked at me and he goes, hey, before he answered my question, he goes, hey Dan, how you doing? Good to hear your voice. Great to finally see you. And I've just, since he got hired at Syracuse, at Pittsburgh, I built a really good relationship. I tried it with everybody.
I like him.
And when you got honored, and you got the love, and you got represented, for the Sports Hall of Fame and all of that, Narduzzi put some stuff out about you. And he put out a thing on Twitter about you, so I tagged him to let him know that you and I were talking tonight, because I like Doozer, and I know it's probably not a popular thing to say here, but I will support any coach that I respect and I like. And Pat Narduzzi, from the day we started talking, he'll do that. He'll go, Dan, nice talking to you. Good. And if I'm not on the teleconference for a week or two, he goes, oh, Dan. He goes, I didn't hear you. I thought something happened to you. So when it means a lot when they hear the voice. And he's standing up on stage, and there's all these people, and he goes, people from all over the country, 15 schools there, 14 schools, and he looks at me and he goes, hey Dan, he goes, good to see you, good to see your face, always love hearing your voice. And I mean,
I was nervous from a few years ago. Then they renewed his contract. I was nervous, but he's a Pittsburgh guy now.
Yeah.
I mean, he comes from the Big Ten, as you know.
Yeah.
But
Michigan State and all, yeah.
Yeah, Michigan State. Anyway, I feel it. I love them. I talk to the locals when I go back to Pittsburgh as often as I do, and they're wishy-washy about him. I go, you know what? That's not the attitude you need to have when this guy is working his ass off.
Yeah.
And he's unfortunately, private school, he can't keep the coaches I think that he really wants.
Yeah, because he had Matt Canada.
Yeah. Oh my God! What a difference in the offense.
Yeah.
It was the most exciting offense Pitt's had in 20 years. I loved it.
Yeah.
I was sitting at a table with Canada, listening to Coach talk before the players went out, because I was, the honorary captain of the team, and I ran the team out on the field and all that, which I love him for it.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I gotta go off the subject there. He goes, no, you need to run out there, because you and me are up front there. I go, Coach, don't believe me. They ain't gonna run me over, Coach.
Yeah, but I mean, and in Pittsburgh, I mean, it is. It's a tough place to play, but at the same time, like, I've been there to the Steelers games, and I went and covered the divisional round with Jacksonville and Pittsburgh, and I love. I got to tell you, being in Pittsburgh, I left early and I was 15 minutes in front of the ice storm the whole time, 5 hours there, a couple years ago. Get there, pull in, snow everywhere, slide and get into the hotel. Their comic book stores were great. Their restaurants were great. I went to Church Brew Works where they took that church and turned it into like a brewery. And I got to tell you, like 3 days in Pittsburgh, I love Pittsburgh.
I love it. Honestly, after I got back from Houston, I went back and helped Jackie out a little bit.
Yeah.
I kind of made to myself a little promise that this is going to be my adopted hometown. And then I came home and I started dating my wife.
Yeah.
So obviously that didn't work out because I've been in Syracuse ever since. And I love her to death. I love my 3 boys and my grandson. I like Syracuse. And when I hear people in bars like right now, oh, this town sucks, I'm going, you know what? Then why don't you get out of here?
Yeah. Or when they complain about the snow.
The snow.
This is This is Santa Claus's armpit.
Yeah. Well,
We know that it is.
I think Buffalo is, but
Well, I mean, they get intense storms. We get like more snow sometimes, but they get like consistent. Because I remember I went to when Tyler Ennis was playing in the tournament for SU and Syracuse lost to Dayton. I was there for those games inside, in Buffalo in the Sabres arena and all that. And I remember coming home because I went home and then went back and then went again. So I made the decision to not stay there. The snows, the flakes, the snow, how big those flakes were on my car. I multiple times on the way home thought about just staying in a hotel.
well, there were times I didn't come home very often.
Yeah.
But it's only 4.5, 5 hours. Well, you hit 79 and you hit 90.
Yeah.
2 roads.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of times I hit Erie, where 79 and 90 join right there, and I couldn't go any further.
Yeah. No, it's Buffalo is intense.
That's rude.
It's very intense. Here we get a lot, but theirs is like a different feel to it.
Well, we've got all the Finger Lakes, and they got one big one, and it dominates.
Yeah. And we got people saying, be ambassadors for Syracuse. I have been. I agree with Al Romano. If you don't like our city and you talk badly about our city and you don't appreciate the community, do us all a favor and leave.
That's why I'm still here.
It's like having a Georgetown fan living in Syracuse.
Right.
If all it is hate, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like, would you live in a house with a woman that every day you came home said she hated you?
Did you have to use that terminology?
I'm divorced for a reason.
You
Sir.
unmarried bastard.
Happily unmarried. But, yeah.
No, I'm not talking like Pittsburgh's the greatest town in the world. I loved it. It was my home for many years.
There's nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing wrong with it.
And Pittsburgh joined the ACC the same time.
I chose to come here,
Right.
and I'm thoroughly sick and tired of people in this town bashing your own town. Then get the hell out.
Right, leave. If you don't like the inn, you don't have to stay here.
That's right.
That's how I feel.
And believe me, this is a great town to bring up a family.
Yeah.
It's a great town.
It's a great place to test things.
Your cost of
Blue
living
collar.
is not crazy.
No, it's blue collar.
In Pittsburgh's blue collar, but then you want to buy a 1,200 square foot house in Pittsburgh, it's $300 grand.
Right.
Here in Syracuse, you can get it for 160, 170.
Right.
You have no idea how good you have it
Until you leave.
until you leave and come back.
Right.
So I'm happy to be here, and I love here, and that's why I've stayed here, and that's why my kids are here. My one son moved to New Jersey, but that's okay. I don't talk to him anymore.
That's fine. That's fine. I tried to give Jersey a chance, and I dated a girl from North Jersey, Middle Jersey, and South Jersey, and in every part of Jersey, I have nothing positive to say.
No, I like Jersey. My son lives in the Belmont.
I like the players.
Yeah.
The players I meet, I love them. I love my guys, my Don Bosco guys. I love my guys from wherever. But of the girls that my buddy has dated and I've dated from Jersey, none of it's good.
Well, I've been married since I started going to Jersey, so I don't date.
Smart.
But I do. I love Jersey. My son lives there, and I rent a house every year down on the shore, and I spend time with him.
Yeah, you have a good time there on the Jersey Shore. Before we let Al Romano go here, 1976 national champion. Talk with me about, we're here on Wake Up Call every single month. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora comes here and makes this our office for one day a month. We come here to the Pizza Man Pub on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville. And to find out when we're going to be here every single month, make sure you find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. And of course on WakeUpCallDT.com, and the regular show Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, here on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT where you're watching, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT for live internet radio worldwide. So 1976, paint the picture. Let's discuss your teammates, the moment. You bought the dream that Pittsburgh sold you, and they held their end of the bargain, and you guys did, and you worked your butts off, and the coaches and the players and the school itself in 1976 won a championship, and you will always be a part of history.
Absolutely. I have a championship ring I'm very proud of. This past Christmas, I actually had 2 rings. I donated one of my rings to, I'm involved with a handicap program in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh, and I gave one of the handicapped kids my ring because he followed me around in his electric chair for 3 hours, and I wondered what is he doing, and I donated to him, which the home, McGuire home, bought me another ring because I gave my other one away.
Really?
And so I ended up with 2 national championship rings, and I'm very proud to say my 2 sons have my rings.
So they have the representation of it. I believe your 1976 national championship in college football is the last one won by Pittsburgh.
Yes.
So Pittsburgh has not won a championship since you. Does that make you happy or sad?
Sad. It's awful. I really felt when Dave Wanstead, who was an assistant coach when I came into Pittsburgh, I thought, this is the guy. He had great recruiting classes.
Yeah.
They won 9 games the year before he got fired. I mean, I thought that's good representation.
You had Majors, Sherrill, and Weinstein.
Well, you won't believe how else we had.
Yeah, tell everybody.
Okay, we had not just Majors, who was, I think, the godfather of our new evolution of Pitt football.
Yeah.
With Jackie Sherrill.
Yeah.
Jimmy Johnson was one of our assistant coaches.
It's insane.
Dave Wanstead, who coached the Dolphins, coached Chicago.
Jimmy, Dolphins, won Super Bowls with the Cowboys. And if Jerry Jones knew how to stay upstairs, Jimmy would have won at least 1 or 2 more.
He would have.
They would have been putting him up to Belichick right now.
Oh, yeah.
Because there was, once Dallas caught their stride with Jimmy Johnson, if he had stayed there, they just couldn't lose.
No.
So you had Jimmy Johnson, Dave Weinstead, you had Majors and Sherrill all on the same team. No wonder you won a national championship.
Well,
one of
Jimmy
them
Johnson came in after we
Jimmy
won the
was after you.
Yeah, he came in.
Weinstead was an assistant.
Weinstead.
Okay. Yeah.
We had the 3 out of the 4 we're talking about.
Yeah, 3 out of the 4. But Jimmy comes through there, and then you look at Pittsburgh history: Dan Marino, Tony Dorsett, Larry Fitzgerald, which people forget about that. My guy James Conner, who the Pittsburgh Steelers very, very stupidly let go to Arizona for a year for $1 million.
Did they get Fitzgerald back?
Yeah.
He traded.
Fitz is 1,000 years old, but and he can play. You know what the thing is? I watched him talk, and he's such an amazing. Like, he's somebody that whatever he does after football, I want to know about. Like, I want to sit and watch his show. If he does a show, if he's an inspirational speaker, if he sells zippers, I don't care. I want to watch.
He is that kind of guy.
He's amazing. He's one of those people you want to listen to.
Very intelligent, and he doesn't do anything without thoroughly investigating it.
And I feel like people don't think about it.
He's one of my favorite players that I've met over the years being an alumni.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, like, the mentality, people when they watch a Larry Fitzgerald or whoever, they just want him to catch the ball. They don't care if he's smart. They don't care if he has other aspirations. They don't care, this, that, whatever. But when you sit and you listen to, I just remember years and years ago, I just listened to Larry Fitzgerald and I was like, I want to know this guy.
Yeah.
So you got to meet him.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
It's everything you would think about. To me, he would be like talking to somebody who is a CEO of a big corporation. Very articulate, very intelligent, a good-looking guy, and you're going to get honesty from the first word out of his mouth. It's very refreshing when you meet a guy like that.
What other Pitt alumni have you met that stick out to you?
Well, one of my best friends, and I love him more than any probably man, is Dorsett.
Yeah.
I'm godfather to his daughter. We became very close because we were the only two All-Americans that year out of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And I love Tony, and I just talked to him just a week ago for the first time in a long time because he's having issues with that CTE.
Yeah.
And it's getting bad, and but we had a riot. We had a riot on the phone together. We're talking. It was like we were back there walking the streets with the guys we used to hang with.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
What are your favorite memories with Tony Dorsett?
Well, he's very quiet. He's an articulate guy, and he's smarter than people give him credit for.
Yeah.
He's shy. He really is. I mean, you imagine Tony Dorsett being shy. He's shy. When we used to have a group of us that used to surround him when we would go through airports and stuff because we're never going to get on the goddamn plane and keep these people off of them. Everywhere we went, we had to fight off the people to get him where we wanted to go.
Yeah.
But he took it in stride. Never arrogant. Never. Just a great guy.
When he went to Dallas and you were in Houston for a bit, did you get to link up at all or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Every year, we're talking two different leagues.
Yeah.
The end of the season, the last exhibition game was Houston, Dallas. So, problem is I wasn't quick enough to even do flag football with Tony. So.
Good. And one of the best Cowboys ever.
Yeah.
So many people talk about Emmitt Smith. Where does Tony Dorsett sit with the Cowboys in your opinion?
He's up there. I mean, I go to Dallas and visit.
Is Emmitt the best? Is it Emmitt then Tony?
Well, I'm partial, and I think it's Tony Emmett, but Emmett's got a little bit more. The record is a little bit more recognizable than Tony's is, but while at the Cowboys,
right?
But I mean, I think Tony is more personable. If he was here right now, he would give you his wholehearted attention. Just like when you recruit.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Yeah.
That's how I want you, so I'm gonna pay attention.
And I realize that. I always keep eye contact all the time, but I realize that you gave it back to me, and I respect when somebody does that.
I mean, I've been in recruiting classes where they're like, this is not going to be good for Southern listeners, and not that will hear us. I was down in South Carolina, the Gamecocks.
Yeah.
And you got to remember, this is 1970, early 70s, 73, somewhere around there. Make a long story short, I get down there and I'm really depressed because I've been in a military school. I hated it. I'm just really trying to struggle to get through it. I miss my family, I miss my friends, and all the stuff when you first go away.
Yeah.
I get a coach coming in when it's my turn to talk to the head coach. And he goes, son, you got a couple other Yankee boys on the team, and I think you fit in real fine. So I says, yeah, okay, thank you, coach. I get back to my room that night, I call my dad, I go, Dad, what's a Yankee boy?
Yeah.
He goes, don't worry about it, you ain't going there.
There you go.
That's a true story.
Yeah.
I was totally out of my element.
Oh, yeah.
Now I would be a little different.
Yeah. But I mean, it is. I mean, you the comfortability that some people, I mean, being Italian, as you know, being Italian, there's a lot of slang and slurs that we would consider to be,
Yeah.
like certain words, like every, Spanish has a word, the black community has a word. There's a lot of words in the Italian community that Americans use because they consider it normal. And there's people that have said words very comfortably in front of me, and I was like, please don't ever utter that word again. I almost broke a door handle, and I'm a very calm guy. There was a girl that said an Italian slur to another girl when I was working at a store, and I looked at her, and she's looking at me, and I'm worried about her because the girl's saying it to her, and I grab the door handle, and I start to, bend, and she goes, are you okay? And I go, yeah, I almost broke the door, but I'm good. I can't even imagine. I mean, you hearing that, okay, we looked all those years back, and it wasn't okay then, but you say, okay, people said it. Nowadays, when somebody says something Italian or Spanish in front of me, I'm just like, are you guys serious? When was this ever okay? It was never okay.
No, I mean, we're obviously going through that
Now.
to a 10th degree right now,
Yeah.
which rightfully so, it needs the end. But we were as, people were as prejudiced against us as they were anybody.
Yeah.
My friend sent me recently because of what we're going through right now, and it read right in the papers building a new street, Washington Avenue, in I believe it was South Carolina, no, Mississippi, and it says Italians need not apply for the job.
Nice.
Sure, that's
a 30-minute deal.
Nice.
I
A
know.
million questions.
Do you have questions?
You got questions?
All right, come on.
What are your questions?
What are your questions?
You guys are way above me on all those football stuff. One thing I want to know.
Yes.
Where do you think SU football is going now? We're 1-10. Probably the worst football team ever. With all the stats and everything going down.
We were talking about that a little bit.
He's got all his guys in there. He's 5 years into it for all his people. You had mentioned about recruiting, which I don't think we're getting any. People are coming to Syracuse and playing against the team they would have.
Right, yeah,
Where
we
does that
said.
take us?
So this team right now,
Transition.
with the way things
I
are,
think the way he started, he did a good job.
yeah, I mean he's in a place right now where at best they're 5-7, probably 4-8. But the reality of it all is the defense needs to change, which there's good that's come from it. But losing Andre Sisco, Afatu Melifonwu, and Trill Williams in the same year is going to affect them. Now, what Syracuse did not have, by far their worst position on the team of a decade at least, was their secondary.
Oh, by far.
And they have changed that. They've changed that. Now they have Jihad Carter, and they have, they got a bunch of guys that are there now that I feel are changing. They're even without Trill and Andre and Ifatu are changing for the better there. So they have built that. But Syracuse to me should always have been RBU. It was RBU. It was Zonka. It was Larry Zonka, Rob Drummond.
As a mediocre fan,
Right.
I think we're one of the smallest teams we've ever played. We're smaller linemen, we're smaller offensive linemen, we're smaller defense. We're playing men against boys. I think that when he came in with his 110 offensive plays a game, now he's changed it all around. He's revolving around. He's changing so much that a person that comes in doesn't know what they're going to be doing next year.
Well, I think
that's my opinion.
I think you do KISS. I think you keep it simple, stupid. And I think what I mean by that is Syracuse's identity forever was to play
The New York
punch
Giants,
punch
do
down,
ball, run up the middle.
punch down, drag out defense, and run the ball. Pittsburgh, they've done some finesse over the years, but they've always been able to run the ball. Boston College went to the ACC and never changed. So Syracuse tried to change who they were when BC didn't change, Pittsburgh didn't really change, and so to me, it's you can't try to beat Clemson. You should never try to become the team you're trying to face. That's why everybody loses to the Patriots. You lose to the Patriots when you try to become the Patriots.
On that note, our
So-
best games are against a better team. We always play Clemson.
Right, you play up for the competition because there's no expectation you have to win. Syracuse has always played down to competition and up to competition. But the reality of it all for me is, if you're not going to commit to running the ball, this team will have no identity. They'll be unsuccessful. All you need to do as Dino Babers is walk into a kid's home, sit down with his grandparents and his parents, and say these words: Jim Brown, Ernie Davis,
That's right.
Floyd Little, Larry Zonka, Joe Morris, Rob Drummond, who was on the '87 undefeated
I was
team.
saying that it was 30 years ago.
So right, and I would say, and you know what?
It's tradition.
I would say, and you know what? There's no better person to bring back to that tradition except you. This should be RBU. It should be an easy sell because all of these kids that I talked to in the last decade have all told me, when I say, what do you think about Syracuse? What do you like about Syracuse? What do you know about Syracuse? Every single kid says one thing. I watched The Express and I love Ernie Davis's story. So you don't have to talk about it was 30 years ago. They love Ernie now, and Floyd was perfect for it when he was here and everything he did. But Joe Morris, for the staff to not even know that he played at Syracuse before he came back here, Rob Drummond has never gotten a phone call, and he lives 20 minutes from the Dome. So to me, if you want RBU, go talk to him. Larry Zonka's been back to the Dome one time when they honored him and Floyd and Tom Coughlin together. Tom Coughlin, again, another guy in the backfield, is a fullback.
Yeah.
So,
Those guys here, hey,
right. If you want to recruit,
I used to watch them down at Hartsville Stadium, the cement steams, we sit outside freezing.
this should be RBU.
Love it.
And Josh Huff, who's coming onto this team from Beaverton, Pennsylvania, he's a power guy. And my only concern is Dino going to let him run the ball? Is he going to finesse him? Is he going to try and speed him? Because if you run the ball, you slow down. And Syracuse has proven under Dino, this run 100 plays, scoring every 30 seconds or 2 minutes. Number one, they're not scoring. Number two, when they are, you're giving Clemson, Florida State, and everybody and their mother too much time.
Becomes a one-dimensional offense.
Right.
That's it.
Teams
You're
beat
behind, you're out.
every team that beats Syracuse, that terrorizes Syracuse, does the same thing really well. Clemson has done it. Wake Forest has done it. BC has done it. Pittsburgh has done it. They run the ball until you're fatigued, and then they run it again, and then they run it again, and then they pass it, and they kill you. Syracuse is getting beat by teams that are using the same blueprint that they used to beat people in the past, and it's sick to lose at your own game. So if anybody is listening, the reality is very simple. Run the ball, play hard defense, your guys will get drafted, and you'll start winning. And you know what? 6-6 and 7-5 is better than 1-10. So I'm just going to say the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And with all due respect, it's not mine, but with all due respect to Dino, and we have a good relationship, it is hard for a coach's ego to go to the side. But if you want to win here and you want to stay here, Dino, run the ball, play hard defense, and milk the clock, because this trying to outspeed Clemson and Florida State is going to murder you every time. You will never outrun them.
Exactly. I'll tell you what, Dave Wannstedt, not to get back to Pittsburgh coaches, but he was one of my coaches, and that's who you learn from. Dave Wannstedt, when he first came to Pittsburgh, got away from the run. We were throwing the ball 60% of the time. Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Well, we had Dorsett. He helped. In my team, But I still argue with Tony, and a lot of our defensive players agree. The defense won that national championship. I mean, we had it, a good and bad, but Tony and I used to do a lot of banquets after we won the championship. And I would tell him, you want to talk to him? Oh, he'll answer.
Will he answer the phone?
Oh, hell yeah. Anyway, I would say, Tony, I go, you know, damn, Tony. The only reason they're talking more about you than our defense is because you're from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I'm sick of it, man. The defense won the national championship.
Yeah. They say defense wins championships.
Right. Well, the
no matter
Steelers,
how many points you score, you still got to stop them.
The Steelers proved it.
Yeah.
They won 4 or 5 Super Bowls, and the score was 21-16, 24 to 12.
Tom Brady's last 3 Super Bowls, arguably, they were the defense.
Right.
The one against the last one they won in New England against the Rams, which was like 10-9. That was defense. The one before that was defense. And people forget the guys that were on the defense there. And then the one in Tampa, did he not throw, 3 interceptions? 2 or 3 interceptions in this last Super Bowl? And they won. And they won because of the defense. And people underestimated Tampa's defense because Kansas City doesn't have a defense. That was the difference between the two. Are you calling Tony Dorsett right now?
Call him up.
I don't know if they'll be able to hear him, but I'll be
We
able
can't
to
hear you, Al. We got another thing down there.
Oh, yeah, TD. Here he is. Calling him?
How many you call him?
No, Mike. Go ahead, let's talk.
All right,
He
okay.
doesn't always answer the phone.
Okay, fair enough. That's right. So, I mean, what can you say? So the defense won the championship.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know the exact. TD. Hey, TD, are you there? How you doing, brother? It's Al. Yeah, I'm on a podcast radio show in Syracuse, and I was telling them
Question from
how
the audience. I don't know if defense won the game.
our question is whether the running of Tony Dorsett. Oh, the running of Tony Dorsett won a championship, or was it the defense?
We got Tony Dorsett.
Can you hear me?
So the combination of running the ball. So we have Tony Dorsett on the line here at Pizza Man Pub. Tony, this is Dan Tortora. I'm the one hosting it with Al. It's my pleasure to meet you. And I'm a huge Cowboy fan, and I got nothing but love. So let me put this to bed for good. Are you better than Emmitt Smith? We got a hell yeah from TV, right?
Hell yeah, man! Hell yeah!
So Tony, what should I know about Al Romano?
Hey, Tony, be kind, man. Be kind.
Okay, so one of the best defense. Now, should he have played for the Buffalo Bills when he went back? Should he have stuck it out and played?
I can't remember so much about that right now because of my CTE, but he should have played.
So Tony, 1970 made good money and moved on. So Tony, tell me your favorite moment of that 1976 championship in Pittsburgh.
I just have to say that,
It's gotta be you.
winning the championship, going 8-11-0, because we as freshmen, we made a pact amongst ourselves that before we left Pitt, we were going to win a national championship. And to see that come to fruition, man,
You're number one. You're not number one.
You know, it's incredible. And Al told me. I mean, you guys had Majors, you had Sherrill, you had Weinstead. I mean, you had a nice coaching staff there.
we had a great coaching staff there. You know, a lot of guys got young in their career, but they knew what they were doing. They followed the leadership of John Majors. But not only that, man, I tell you what, that championship team is not so much, you know, that we work. The coach always told us if you work hard, you can play hard. I mean, in other words, you know, we
Oh, I thought you could see
I can't read it.
We stepped on that field, we gave 120, 50% of the time. And as long as he could see that, as long as we were doing that, we had an opportunity to enjoy our college flags.
Yeah, you know, and Tony, I mean, your initials TD, that's all you did, you know, professionally and collegiately. Do you have a favorite moment at Pittsburgh besides the championship? Do you have a favorite moment?
Tony Julia.
My favorite, it's not, I don't know if it's just a moment for myself, but my favorite thing was being able to be the Penn State Business. I think because we get Penn State and all ourselves a big rival.
Tell Tony. Tell him to kick Zeke in the ass and have a good year, okay?
And I love that. Do you still think the Penn State rivalry, is there still anything to it anymore? Died down a little bit. So, Tony, anything that you can, what would be the best piece of advice to, you know, athletes out there right now that are trying to, you know, have success in their careers and whatnot? What would be your advice to any kid out there that's trying to have success in their career?
My advice would be one thing is not to get discouraged. Work hard, because I'm a strong believer that working hard is the key to success. I know it works for me, and I know it works for a lot of other players. It's just don't give up. Keep working hard.
And coming from Tony, you got anything for Tony Al? Say anything to him?
Hey, T. Thank you, man. Love you.
Thank you, Tony. It's an honor.
All right. Well, look, we're hooking up in Pittsburgh. I'll give you the date, and we're going to send you a ticket. We're going to send you a ticket. It ain't going to be to Pittsburgh, though. All right, brother. I love you, man. Love you.
Thank you.
Might as well call Danny.
All right. So,
should we call Dan? You want to talk to Marino?
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no.
Bring it on.
No.
All-American here.
This may be an all-time high if people are
It is. We just talked to Tony Dorsett.
Well, I mean,
casually.
And Lexington.
well, the problem is
Do it on the golf
couldn't
course,
hear
for
him.
Christ's sake.
Well, they might be able to pick it up from here. I mean, I know that we just talked to him.
That's why I put the microphone up there because you put yours down.
Yeah.
I mean, is this your first time?
It is. My first time doing the show. It's my first time doing the show. You know, I'm gonna give you that, and I'm gonna let because you called Tony Dorsett, so it's fine.
Dave, I called Tony Dorsett. He goes,
Yeah, because I'm talking to him on the phone. I'm talking to him on the phone. I'm giving him my undivided attention.
yeah, well, nobody else heard it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why everybody came up here and we all
That's
power.
right.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Everybody running up here.
All-American now.
You talked to Tony
I
Dorsett.
did.
Yeah.
All
We
my
almost
buddies
talked to
talked to
Danny.
him.
Remember you called Danny that time? We're golf course.
People definitely heard it because they're writing
they're
into me
chiming
right
in.
now. Yeah, they're chiming in
There we go.
about it.
I'm wondering how many people out there heard Tony Dorsett. It was I love that man like no other. He was an inspiration when we were playing. He total silence. I mean, he wouldn't talk to anybody. He'd get over on his own. He'd get himself all psyched up, and he was.
Yeah.
I think he was the best ever.
Did you hear what he said?
I didn't hear what he said
When I
because
answer- when I-
somebody took the freaking
Listen,
phone away
listen,
from him.
Romano.
Okay.
But You know, you handed it to me. Well, you know what?
Well, I've heard him before. Okay.
Yeah. So this is what he said. So I asked him about the Penn. He said something along. I mean, he talked about the rivalry, and he said one of the greatest things is that they got to beat the Penn State Pussies. Is what he said.
That's right.
That was straight from
And
Tony
I didn't
Dorsett.
know. You know what? I didn't know we could talk like that, or I would have talked.
You've sworn plenty of times tonight.
I would have.
Yes, he has.
No, I would.
He said at least three
I
different
would have been
words.
more graphic. Believe me.
Now listen, I'm going to let Tony say whatever he wants because Tony hasn't razzed me.
right.
Yeah, Tony can do
Question
whatever he
is,
wants.
did the defense win the national championship?
He said it was a mixture of both. Tony Dorsett said it was defense and running the ball.
I mean, he was a pussy running back, but he was good.
He just gave it right back to him. Wow. Wow. This show is what this is going to be an internationally televised. It's going to say Tony Dorsett calls Penn State pussies.
That's
and
right.
Romano calls teammate a pussy.
You know what you just did?
And you know
That
what?
guy from Minneapolis is off the
And that Coach Franklin's a pussy too.
wall.
Okay.
I'm on record.
You don't like James Franklin?
Well, he's 4'6", but other than that,
Wow.
did he?
On your shoulders.
And did he play football? I mean, who plays football at 4'6"? Coach Franklin.
All right. Nice to meet you, El Romano. Nice to finally meet you.
Hold on.
He's not done.
7 years old. You can
This
say
is
that.
He's not done.
this is ironic. I'm 6'4" and he's 4'6".
Yeah. Maybe you should play him. Maybe you should go toe to toe with James Franklin.
No, I actually when he first came on the scene at Penn State, I liked him, and then he started trash talking.
Right. Okay.
So I have no respect for him, obviously.
Right. I mean, you could have fooled us. I thought you liked him.
Well, really, I mean, I like Charlie Manson too. So
All right. So,
people don't understand that.
yeah, I understood. So, before we finish up here at the Pizza Man Pub with Mr. Al Romano, 1976 national champion with the Pitt Panthers, and here with us today is CNY native and played at Solvay, myself, Dan Tortora of Wake Up Call, at Pizza Man every month. The first time we've been here with Al Romano, and we just, in the moment, talked to Tony Dorsett.
It may be our last time with El Romano.
No, I'm bringing you back. We just casually talked to Tony Dorsett, and mind you, what you just said to me after that, Dan Marino was my first favorite player ever in the history of the NFL. Ever in the history. Dan Marino, and you know what the funny thing is? When he came here to do a signing in Syracuse, I wasn't here. It was the one weekend I wasn't.
Remember there was a blizzard. He called me.
I wasn't here. I saw the billboard on 81, and I had to leave.
It was up at Carousel, remember?
Yeah, I wasn't here for it.
He called me. He goes,
Broke my
Al,
heart.
you're out of your freaking mind because there was a blizzard.
Oh yeah, Marino came up here. I have spray painted Dolphins 13 jerseys with Tortora on the back. Loved it. My favorite, my literal first favorite player ever. Yeah, there he is, Dan Marino. We calling Dan Marino? Are you calling Dan Marino? What time is it?
It's only 10 after 8. His wife won't mind.
Okay, you're gonna call Dan Marino? Oh my
So
Lord.
anyway, let's talk while we're calling.
All right, so tell me something about Dan Marino I should know.
He's taller than me,
And he's taller than James Franklin. We also realize that too.
and he's very handsome.
Yeah.
Not that I say that about many men.
Did a lot of commercials.
Does a lot of commercials. It's a voicemail.
Sad.
Yeah.
We'll have to call him back another
We'll have
time.
to call him another time.
Tony Dorsett on the show casually.
Anyway, that's what one positive of going to a great university like that. Not to say that Syracuse isn't. I wanted to go to Syracuse. They just didn't want me.
Which a lot of kids say now.
Well, I
Which
mean,
is sad.
and I feel for them because they thought I was a shoo-in because all I wanted to do was go to Syracuse.
Yeah.
I went to a prep school because my grades weren't that great with one of the Syracuse University football coach's son, and when it came down to it, I just felt that they didn't show me the respect that I felt that I deserved.
Right.
And you can make it from a small school. I went to Salve, right here, Central New York,
Yeah.
and
Plenty of great schools here.
I mean, yeah, a lot of small schools. And the thing is I wouldn't have gotten recognized unless I did go away to prep school, because obviously nobody's covering little schools like Salve or West Hill or whatever. You know, they cover the Liverpools and the CBAs and CNS and schools like that, but they don't cover us little C schools and B schools.
Well, and that's the difference Wake Up Call is working to be. Before we finish up here at Pizza Man Pub on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville, a reminder that Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is here with you every single month. And we're here with Al Romano, national champion of 1976 with Pitt, their last championship. We do a thing on my show that I've done for years, Al, and after everything that we have done on the show to go off the rails, I can't believe I'm letting you do this, but I'm letting you do this. There's a thing on my show called Rapid Fire. It's where I let you run the show, and you can ask me any 4 questions, football, sports, or anything in the world. I literally have to answer anything. You can ask me any 4 things you want. That is how we'll finish today. Ask away when you're ready.
Is this a sports show or a football show?
It's an everything. It's where sports meets life. You can ask me about literally anything.
Well, I was told when I went to Canada that
Yeah.
when I was interviewed up in whatever Canada station it was, that I was a better hockey player than football player.
Okay.
So where do you think the Crunch are going these days?
I mean, hopefully we get to actually see some normalcy with hockey in general. But, I mean, I think the Crunch have held their own over the last couple of years, and I'm hopeful that hopefully inside of, you know, within everything they've done the last couple of years, I would like to think that they will trend upward and continue to have a positive effect. I think they're a farm team of a good team, obviously, and there's a lot of upswing for that. So I'm hopeful for the Crunch. I think they're a lot better than when I was a kid.
It's
Or more
difficult in
consistent.
hockey being a farm team because
Yeah.
at any moment they strip the hell out of your team.
Well, yeah, if you play good as a farm team, I mean, your best players are not going to be there for your championship.
Exactly. And I loved hockey. I just absolutely loved it. I felt that I was more natural at it.
Yeah.
When I went to Pittsburgh, and at the time the Penguins were not good, not a great team.
Yeah.
But they were always okay team.
Right.
They would just about give the tickets away, so I went to a lot of Penguin games for free.
Yeah.
And I learned to love the Penguins. Don't get mad at me. I learned to love the Penguins.
Yeah.
But early on, I liked the Rangers and Philadelphia with the Clarks and the crazies that used to fight all the time from Philadelphia.
Yeah. I'm a Duck fan.
Oh, that's too bad.
2007. I'm a Duck fan because of the Mighty Ducks movie. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. Emilio Estevez. And the year they changed the duck face logo for the goalie is the year that they changed the foot and they won. So all of the championship gear is the logo I don't like. It pissed me off so much. And and you know what? I didn't think I knew how to skate. Ice skate. And I've only done it a few times in my life. And the fact of the matter is, I know how to do it. And every time I get on the ice, I whisper something to myself. I go, flying V. I go, flying V. Just picture myself at the front of the flying V of the Mighty Ducks, and I skate fine. You would see me playing hockey because skating and actually playing the game, like physically playing the game while you're skating, very tough. I don't think anybody gets credit for the constant movement.
Can you read that?
Yeah, I can read it all.
All right, shut up.
What's your next question for me? I feel like you're razzing me and showing that we've gotten close. This last year, we're building our relationship the last hour here.
Yeah, I met him like 6 hours ago.
Yeah.
No. We met
a few months ago.
It
It was a while ago. Yeah.
No, it was
Beginning of
way
the Rona.
before COVID, so it's almost a year ago.
Yeah, so we met then.
Yeah.
And now we're sitting here
and
today.
I met your mother, so I know you're a good person.
Yeah, you did meet my mom.
I'll tell you what. I'm not saying this because I helped open this beautiful establishment, but
Okay.
I grew up in Salve with Twin Trees Pizza.
Yeah.
But I am telling you, consistency, and time after time, this is the best pizza I've ever had.
Yeah.
They don't undercook it, they don't overcook it. They'll give you
stuff.
anything you want. It is Now Jimmy Jr. is my godson.
Yeah.
These 4 boys, Carol Delia and Jimmy Delia, are the finest young men I have ever known in my life. I mean, they're right up there.
Yeah. And they love you too. They talk highly about you all the time.
Well, they're just good. They're just good kids. And
like that.
if you come to Pizza Man and you use my name, we'll knock off 50 cents.
And if you call Tony Dorsett and you use my
Hey,
name,
you want to talk to Tony Dorsett? If you want to talk personally to Tony Dorsett and I happen to be here, cost you $10.
there you go.
How's that?
I got it for free, so I like that. What's your next question for me? You got 3 more.
All right.
You can literally ask me anything.
Well, the Mets,
Okay.
the farm team here in
Syracuse
Syracuse.
Mets, uh-huh.
This is a big transition.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think?
I'm happy that there's a team in orange and blue that should have happened a million years ago. I'm happy there's a New York team that should have happened a million years ago.
Yes.
Love the Blue Jays. The Washington Nationals make no logical sense ever.
That I agree.
Dumb move.
I agree
Dumb
with you.
move.
The Blue Jays, I agree. Washington, really?
Yeah.
That was a screwed up move.
But the Mets, I love it. I think it's great. And I've always had a soft spot. So I'm a Diamondback fan. Soft spot for the Yankees because my dad and my grandpa. But my first ever pair of sunglasses that I remember wearing are my Mets sunglasses. And I really, really, really want to go to a Mets game this year. I've never been to one. So I'm hopeful for the Mets. I want them to do well. But the city of Orange and Blue, having an orange and blue team in the state of New York, literally the easiest decision you could ever make. So shout out to everyone within the Syracuse Mets organization because it's about dang time that this happened, and I love it.
It's a perfect fit.
And it's so easy to support them because
It really is.
It's an easy sell,
It really is.
and I'm excited. I like it.
When moving to Pittsburgh, because the Pirates were so horrible,
They were bad forever.
they were bad. But by my senior year, the year after, I think 78 or 79, they won the championship.
Yeah.
And I flew back to Pittsburgh because of my. One thing about Pittsburgh, there are a lot about Syracuse people. You know, when you meet Syracuse people, I mean, it may be a shirt tail relative feeling, or I mean, obviously, unless you got in a fight, which is not a good idea.
Yeah.
That's what Pittsburgh's like. So when the Pirates end up making it to World Series, and you give me the year, 78, 79?
70 maybe.
70,
It's
whatever.
been a long time.
I call a couple Pittsburgh friends. I'm in a box watching watching the Pirates win the World Series,
As you should be.
and that's how it is here in Syracuse.
As it should be.
And I don't want to hear this shit about the snow and the bad weather. You have no idea.
Well, that's the thing. Okay, the Pitt Panthers, you guys played outside.
Yeah.
Maryland plays outside. Penn State plays outside. BC plays outside. We play inside. Why are people complaining about the weather? You're in a controlled environment. They don't turn the air conditioning on, but they got other stuff.
They don't have
The Carrier Dome, the air conditioning company with no air conditioning.
And you know what? When I was at Pittsburgh, they were saying they were already calling it the Carrier Dome, and they were pushing it as the Carrier Dome. And when I came home and went to my first game at the Carrier Dome, I sweat my ass off.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, whoa!
A couple of years ago, it was over 100 degrees at the game I was at in August. 102.
I was at the game at Syracuse, which I hadn't been home very long, where we beat Penn State here.
Oh, okay.
Was it Penn State? Or?
Forever and a day.
Yeah.
Because in '83 they defeated #1 Nebraska.
Yeah. No, it was Nebraska.
Okay, yeah.
Here it was Nebraska. I
83.
apologize.
Yeah. 1980.
See, I'm not as old as he is, so I forget a few things.
I was -2. So what's
You had to bring that up.
listen? If you're gonna razz, I'm here. You don't know that I do comedy for a living too. That's part of my life. You bring it, I'm here. I'm already on a stage. What are your last 2 questions?
Oh, 2 now.
You had 4. You asked 2.
I was 3, but you've been drinking.
You asked me about the crunch and the Mets.
Right.
So you got 2 more. 2 plus 2 is what?
Now, I went to Salve.
You told me you don't know how to add, but I believed in you. I have faith in you.
Now, I follow the NFL very carefully.
Okay, me too.
Okay. Do you really think this first round, when we all know who it's going to be, is going to make a big difference?
In the first
Lawrence.
Right. So do I think, I mean, I'm a Jacksonville fan, as I said, and I cover the team. This should be a very easy. I can understand the thinking, Zach Wilson. I can understand Urban Meyer thinking, don't. I respect Justin Fields, but don't do it. Trevor Lawrence has lost 3 games in 7 years. He wins at the high school level. He wins at the collegiate level. Yes, there'll be transition, but Trevor Lawrence, this is just draft Trevor Lawrence. Just do it. Just draft him. Because every few years they change a quarterback. Just draft Trevor Lawrence. So, here's the thing, though. They think the first 4 picks, and I'm going to be doing my mock draft the day before the draft on April 27th. I'll be doing my mock draft with Mike Sofka of Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com in the morning, 10 to 11 a.m. And when we do the mock draft, there's the notion that the first 4 picks can all be quarterbacks.
Yes.
Because San Fran went from 12 to 3, and Atlanta's got to find an answer for Matty Ryan. So we'll see.
And it's possible 5.
It's also possible we could see 5 or 6 of these guys in the first round.
Exactly.
Which just shows you where the NFL's at, because I don't know if necessarily. But
You know what sucks? It's just like putting the rubber stamp on who is the most vital person on a football team.
right.
I hate that.
Well, the thing is, when I know who the number 1 pick is 9 months in advance, it takes away the fun of it. But Jacksonville will keep you on their toes because Jacksonville has numerously made bad decisions. So the fact that they might draft somebody that'll make my eyes spin.
Well, Jacksonville has only not done it as long as the Jets.
Who have the second pick.
Who have the second.
Right. Who found a way to win so that they could lose the first pick.
Exactly.
What's your final one?
I'm gonna hit the gamut here.
Okay, you're gonna hit the gamut. Last one of the night.
Well, we covered
We
local with the crunch.
Yeah, you covered local with the Mets. You covered the draft. You can ask me literally anything. Movie, music, ex-girlfriends. I got plenty of crazy ones. Whatever you want.
I don't have any ex.
You don't have any exes?
38 years.
Okay, I got plenty for you.
Well, if I'm asking a question, you give me their names and all that.
I don't think you want them. I don't know if any of them have been let out of the Arkham Asylum or Rikers yet. So I think they're all there still. I don't know how many years. I don't know what the statute is.
High school.
Yeah.
What high school did you go to?
CBA. My dad gave me 2 choices: CBA or Ludden.
Wow.
I chose CBA.
So your family had money.
Blue collar worked their butt off. So we're not a white collar family. So a lot of paying college tuition to go to a high school. But my education was insanely good.
I was so bad. Salve High School paid me to go there.
I like that. Do you have a question about my high school or not?
Well, CBA, we felt there was a little bit of cheating going on because what was his name? The coach.
Casimano?
Casimano said he didn't recruit.
You can recruit. If you're a Catholic private school, you can 100% recruit.
Right, I know, but the public schools could not do that.
Right.
I mean, every year we had a really good team.
Right.
But we could not get by them because they had to pick from the east end, the west end, the north end.
Yeah, you can recruit.
Right, well.
Because anybody can go to a Catholic school.
Just like if you're going to go to the next level. The better the player, the better the team.
There you go. So, yeah, I mean, you can recruit.
So CBA stands for cheaters.
Oh, there we go. There you go. Don't get me in trouble. Proud alum, 2003.
Actually, they wanted me, Casimano, wanted my son to go there because he was a pretty good player in the Salve as well.
Okay, all right.
And they were going to pay his tuition, and like they do all the players, which is, well, look at you smiling over here.
I I'm just sitting
You
here.
don't know about that yet.
I'm just watching. I'm watching you talk.
Anyway, he
I'm appreciating our budding
he
friendship.
didn't even ask me if the decision was made.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna beat him, Dan. We're gonna beat him at little old Salve. So
All right. Respect.
Yeah.
That coming from Al Romano, myself, Dan Tortora, here at the Pizza Man Pub. Every single month you'll catch Wake Up Call here. We'll have Al Romano back with us here as well. And we got to talk to Tony Dorsett because this man keeps his word and just gave me literally hands down one of the greatest moments of my life and one of my greatest moments of 17 plus years of broadcasting. I don't know how to thank you enough, Al, but I knew this was going to be fun.
the next time I'll call Dan Marino,
Yeah.
sweetheart.
I'll pass out.
A lot of people.
Because I respect Tony, but Dan, I watched Dan my whole
A
life.
lot of people think he's arrogant, he's tall, he's handsome and all that, but you know what?
Hootie and the Blowfish loved him, and so does Jim Carrey.
I'm telling you right now,
If I get to get Dan Marino through you, then that means I'm 1 degree away from Jim Carrey.
I can't go any further than Dan Marino.
Maybe Dan can get me to Jim. maybe we can get to 8. They're making another Ace Ventura. Maybe Marino's going to be in that
Yeah,
one.
maybe he's going to be a
He's a pretty good actor.
No, I think he's going to be a porpoise next time.
You think so? All right. You're on record saying that about that guy.
I want to thank you. He's a great guy. You should watch him and listen to him often. I've been interviewed many times, and I had more fun tonight than I have had in a long time. So I want to thank you for having me.
I don't know what to say to that except for it's my pleasure. Hey, he just said something nice. He just said
Holy
something
shit.
nice.
I just say something nice,
He
and the
said
whole bar's
something
going.
nice.
The whole bar's going to cut the bullshit. I go,
Yeah.
hey.
Is this the Syracuse you're talking about? They're complaining.
No, they're Salve.
Oh, look at that. There it is. Love it.
Oh,
Wow.
that's brutal.
Al and I have to go get in a bar fight now.
Let's go.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
I got a glass. We'll break it. It'll be fine. So, thank you to Pizza Man Pub, 50 Oswego Street in
I
Baldwinsville.
want to thank Carol Delia because she is the only one.
Carol.
Without her, she is for the most awesome boys on the face of the earth. And I don't know about Tony, but Carol.
Nice. Nice.
Jimmy thinks it's my kid.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I want to thank the Delia family, all of Pizza Man, everybody here. I want to thank local businesses. As always, something I started back in February 2020. Use the hashtag on social media, support CNY. Find us on Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, Twitter at CallDT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. For Al Romano, I'm Dan Tortora. This has been Wake Up Call, and a special thanks to the amazing Tony Dorsett as well.
I agree. And here's to Dave Martin. Joe Pooch. And the almighty Z.
All right, fair enough. You gave shout-outs to the people that booed you and called you a has-been.
Yeah, Joe. I don't want to go there.
All right, fair enough. Thank you all. Al, thank you. Appreciate it. I look forward to it again. Thank you for your kind words. We'll talk with you soon.
You give me full warning, I'll get Dan Marino on there.